Well, okay then. I want to do another test, but this time is going to be with the Paladin, and we're gonna do the exact same thing just because I want to see who's better, the Paladin or the Shaman. And the Paladin will be using a Thunderfury. Again, the companions, unless you're using a legacy companion who's based on your own character, he's not going to have access to these items. But just for the sake of this test, he will. And I may have to make some changes to this, I don't know. But what I'm really curious about is how much of a difference will the force reactive disc will be making. And I'm putting here, well, let me move this around because probably haven't seen anything. Okay, so on the screen, I hope you can see this. I'm just going to have a screenshot of how much damage the Shaman will be doing, and I'll also be using, again, a Mage and a Warlock. And maybe I should hide this for now, and we'll just get back to it so we can compare the stats at the end. But right now, there's the Thunderfury thing and the Force Reactive Disc thing. He doesn't have any Librum that's special in any way, so the gear is, well, just similar to what the Shaman's own gear was. It's a tier 5 dungeon Paladin with R14 gear, that sort of thing. And yeah, that's kind of it. I just want to know, relatively speaking to the Mage and the Warlock, how much more damage or less damage will the Paladin do? What's his spiel? So let's just do the same thing all over again. And of course, he's opening with some consecration in the middle of God knows where. But that's okay, everyone. Now that Thunderfury does proc pretty often, so it's not like the Shaman's just spamming Chain Lightning, if we can call it spamming, because he wasn't using it that often, but he was using it often enough to do like a 12% or some such, and that was not bad at all. But it is, well, at least I believe so, that the Paladin is just pretty much the king of AOE, just because of consecration. He also has Retribution aura, which he's not using because he's going with the concentration aura. And why he's doing that is because this is a magic Paladin, and when he has grouped all the enemies together, I talked about this in a previous video, he groups them all together, and when he has aggro on them and his life goes beyond below 50% HP, he'll just heal himself. So that's pretty cool, and believe me, it worked. Well, don't believe me, just watch my previous video, because we did the dead mines and that's exactly what happened. So it's very useful, because you see, the thing about the healers in general, you only have so much capacity to heal, so much throughput, and if shit hits the fan, and sometimes it does because you pull bigger or who knows what happens, you might find yourself not having enough throughput heal to be able to keep the target alive, and that's when you may find yourself benefiting from off healers, such as in this case the Paladin tank who can heal himself, or if you have other off healers such as Paladins, Shamans and whomnots, priests, whatnots. Okay, so it just, you know, it kind of depends. Do you just want to blast through a dungeon? Cool, but sometimes if you're doing progression, raiding or dungeons, it's just better to have a little bit of a safety net. So that's why he does that. If you say, we could cheat a little bit here, even though it wouldn't be cheating, but let's say for, well, okay, let's presume correctly that he's not going to need this off healing, because he's just, yeah, he's in R14 gear. So what you can do is cast, what's it called, man? Retribution aura. Okay, so now he has casted Retribution aura, and that Retribution aura will actually provide with a little bit of extra oomphy, juicy things. And because I don't give a fuck and I'm a little bit suicidal and I also want to test, let's just pull a little bit more, everyone. I don't care, okay? Let's just push and push and push to see at which point he breaks. And what I do notice straight off the bat is that he does a very good job grouping up all the enemies and holding them together, and he drops one consecration and Bob's your uncle. And Jesus, sweet buttery Jesus, look at that damage. I mean, the Shaman was doing fine, but god damn, this Paladin dude is just so obscene and disgusting. And oh Bros, I don't think this item is legit. This item may be a little bit too much. I'm just saying. I mean, of course, it's well, I mean, it's a little bit better than the normal version, right? Because the normal one, what happens with it? Well, it doesn't have a lot of this other extra stuff, but fundamentally the damage comes from the same spell. So you could just use the normal force reactive disc and you would gain the same result because the damage is same. Just this one has more armor and whatever. Okay, but the damage is bonkers. The only problem with the normal version is that it breaks after a while. So what you normally would do is just craft a whole bunch of them and keep swapping them around until you know, you do the dungeon. So you might need, like, say 3 copies and you repair them all and you go within the dungeon, and when one of them breaks, you switch it. What the fuck is this mob, dude? In the middle of goddamn nowhere. I think I may have this is my local server, so I'm sometimes testing things and spawning things and other things and things like that. You catch my drift, yes? Let's pull more. Question, everyone, how much stat defense? Whoa, he's got 10.7. Well, opa. Ooh, he almost died there. He gave me a heart attack. I think he laid on hands himself. Wow, this priest, brevs. Come on, man. He has 10.7 K armor. The Shaman had 10.4 K armor. But again, the Shaman gets his armor, like a few thousands of it, from spell damage and healing. And I did not optimize it at all. Like, for this test, I didn't optimize anything. I just took a tier 5 dungeon guy, I slapped on the items, the sword and the shield, and Bob's your uncle. Obviously, when you do the things, you will definitely be doing a better job. So you're probably gonna have more armor than that. But either way, like 300 or so difference in armor is practically irrelevant, okay? So just saying for the giggles. But holy smokes, is this Paladin kicking ass. And a lot of the damage comes from, even more, it comes, well, if we just, while we're waiting for this gate to open, if we look at the damage difference so far, I hope it's on the screen, I don't know, I'm new to this, but anyway, the Shaman was doing 31.5% with force reactive disc, okay? So, well, I mean, it depends, but I think also because the Shaman was doing a lot more damage with auto hits and some other things, so maybe that's why, I don't know. It could be, but nonetheless, his damage is very solid, like clearly just uber solid. And it's actually pretty close, isn't it? It is pretty close. It's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. Okay, let's see to the end of the dungeon. But so far, it's looking pretty good to me. I don't know what to tell you. First of all, they're getting the job done. The armor is similar. Let me look at the avoidance. I know you can't see it because my stupid face in there, but I'll just take my word for it, okay? The avoidance is even worse, okay? Avoidance is like 5%, man. And the Shaman had how much? I don't know, 20 something percent. So the Paladin is even less avoiding than the Shaman, but the Paladin actually has a little bit more life, I believe. So that's his advantage. But either way, why can I? No, I think he's doing pretty well, because you see, the thing about the Thunderfury is it reduces attack speed of the enemies by 20%, which is a goddamn lot. And nothing else is really important. Well, it also increases movement speed, but none of that other stuff matters. But the attack speed reduction is straight up damage multiplier, so very, very cool. It's hard to beat that one. I mean, it doesn't stack with Thunderclap, so warriors themselves, well, it saves them some rage, so it's not terrible for them either. But for the Paladin is an excellent debuff. excellent. Absolutely, just he digs it very, very much. But you can see he's built on spell power, yeah? It's the same as the Shaman in the previous run. They're built on spell power. They're not a particularly very tanky. We'll do a warrior and a bear afterwards too, just so we can see the difference. But in terms of results, yeah, just looking at the Paladin results in the damage meter and the Shaman results, almost identical, dude. With some small margin there because the priest is not doing as much. But otherwise, the mage and the warlock are at 28 and 24%, literally identical with the Shaman run. So they're a constant, we can rely on them. And the Paladin is doing exactly as good as the Shaman, which may lead me to believe that we can probably leave the Edward the Odd effect for the Shaman, okay? Because he was doing like, I don't know, 12% or something on chain lightning and some 2 or 3% or some such on lightning bolt. So pretty good. Now my only concern would be what about the other tanks, because I know someone's gonna be, but what about my bear, man? I don't know. Well, I do know they get from the dagger from I don't know if I should. Okay. Abort, come here. You're gonna be dead in a second. Yeah, he's still going sideways and he's gonna die because he just line of sighted the healer. Well, this is not how you should do this pull. I just let them go because for shits and giggles. But normally you should pull around the boxes here just to avoid this. But either way, I just wanted to look straight in the eye at the results of the damage meter, and it's very, very similar, okay? Look and see for yourself. I hope you can see it on the screen so we can just compare. If I just raise this a little bit, apples to apples, okay? Damage, pretty similar, I would say. Pretty damn similar. The Shaman did more auto hits. Obviously, he's got a huge component of his damage comes from that talent, the Frenzy one or whatever it's called. And as you would expect, the Paladin has a lot coming from Consecration, a very substantial amount for Thunderfury. So Thunderfury definitely kicking ass there. Chain Lightning was at 10%, not at 12%. As I say, Lightning Shield surprisingly high at 17% for the Shaman. And yeah, and also consider the fact that the Paladin is using Exorcism, which is 547%. Normally, if you did any non-undead dungeon, you wouldn't be having that one. A Holy Shield, small contribution. Again, this is not optimized in any way, shape, or form, so it can probably do better. But I see very similar. You could argue that the Paladin did more because he's at 44% versus 38%. Yeah, not, I don't know. It's more or less the same, to be honest. Kind of truly just same-ish thing. So I would say it's pretty good. Hammer of Wrath, he uses that for finisher. Judging Righteousness, not a big deal. Seal of Righteousness, not a big deal. Really, just truly a lot of it coming from Force Reactive Disc, man. What an absolute beast. Complete beast. I ran these dungeons in the past. If you'd like, we can just run it again without these items, just so you can see what the difference in the damage is. I would have to restart. Cannot do it right now. But the point is, without these items, just from my own personal experience, the Paladin would still be above the Mage and the Warlock. Maybe like, I don't know, 5% or something, right? So it wouldn't be this big of a difference, but it would still be a difference. So, I mean, clearly this Force Reactive Disc is adding 40%, man. It's a huge amount, okay? But yeah, it would still be a little bit ahead, if not on the same tier as the Mage and the Warlock, just from my own personal experience. So what is really happening here is this this shield is completely ridiculous, okay? It's bananas. It's not even funny. And I don't know. We'll test raids as well, okay? We can do raids as well. Just keep in mind, I may have to put the shield on a might guy, because these guys are just built for dungeon, okay? They have spell power and all that sort of thing, and they're more about just damage rather than tanking or things like that. So they're more about AOE and that sort of thing. But we can try all sorts of variations and just to see how it goes. But so far, I'm very, very surprised with the shield. I'm glad that the Shaman and Paladin, because they're close to one another, because they are quite rivals and people compare them and they want to know, and it's always, oh, why are you buffing the Shaman, why are you buffing the Paladin? Well, they're both fine. So I think on the Shaman side with the Dragonspine, I may end up leaving the Edward the Odd effect, just because apparently it's not over the top, and it does keep close to the Paladin. So I might leave, like you can see now, probably in the previous video you couldn't see it, but now the final effect says chance on hit, next spell cast within 4 seconds will be instant. So yeah, that provided, in my estimation, about 10% of his damage when he procced this, and he casted a bunch of chain lightnings and a few normal lightning bolts. Cool. Okay, very interesting. I say let's try it again, but with the warrior, and then we'll do it with the bear, just to see what happens. Don't you think, everybody? See you next time.